Friday, September the 1st. We're a few days away from Labor Day, and the summer is ending here on the East Coast very soon. So, I want to come back tonight and talk about part two of the Principles of Manhood series. So, the way it's looking, I might have talk about this the next month or so in terms of different series because I think as men we need these kind of conversations. So what I want to talk about tonight, and I wanted to reiterate back on what I said last night about health. Um, so I'm going to give you a little bit of backdrop and history about myself. So both of my parents, my mother, who's deceased, she died June 24th, 2009. Her birthday was June 22nd, so she died a day after her birthday, and she died a day before Michael Jackson. And she passed away from diabetic complication where she had congested heart failure. So there's a difference between congested heart failure and a heart attack. And a heart attack is talking about the arteries, which are clogged up, which is the arteries. My father had a heart attack at 43. Congested heart failure is dealing with the upper respiratory or breathing. So my mother's heart gave out on her. But prior to that, she suffered from diabetes. Diabetes runs in both my father and my mother's side of the family. My mother had low blood. My father has high blood. My father also has early stage of dementia right now. Um, so my mother passed away from diabetes. She had just turned 68 years old. She was also on dialysis, and she also had cataract surgery, which one of her eyes had closed prior to her demise in 2009. The reason why I gave that history is it's very important. History is very important. And many of us don't know not only do we know our history as a people who came to this country, but many of us don't know our medical history. And both sides of my family, and I know for sure on my mother's side, I know on my father's side, but I know for sure on my side, we have mental illness. Now, a lot of that mental illness came from poverty and oppression. A lot of that also came from how a lot of people back in the South, how a lot of them had experienced slavery and trauma and the KKK and many tragedies in their life. So, what I'm trying to say is that history is important on all levels and all levels and all aspects of life. So, as men, it's very health is wealth. It's very important that we take control of our health. And when the mind is healthy, it produces healthy thoughts. So, as I mentioned, as a man thinketh, so is he. Whatever you think about yourself is how you're going to see yourself operating and moving in the world and navigating through the world. So, I mentioned, and the reason why I mentioned my parents, I'll give you a little bit of medical history. My mother had low blood. My father has high blood. My mother's deceased. She died in 2009 from congested heart failure of years battling with diabetes. She had type 1 diabetes and she used to take insulin. I was diagnosed with diabetes back in 2020. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So I caught diabetes pretty much late in my life. My daughter, she had diabetes, quote me, like around 23, 24. She got it young. So she has type 2 diabetes. I don't know about my son because I'm going to be upfront with you. Me and my son don't have a relationship. We don't have a relationship. And I wasn't much of a father to him growing up. So I want to own that as a man. And that's my truth. You're hearing it from me. because I'm telling the story, and it shouldn't come from nobody else. But going back to, as I mentioned about health, they say health is wealth. So I was diagnosed with diabetes in 2020. Now, for many of you out there who are activists, you talk about white supremacy, you talk about how the government during the Tuskegee experiment. Yes, that was a tragedy. How us as black men during that time we was experiment on during the Tuskegee experiment. That was back then. That's part of our history, but that's not an excuse of why the average black man does not go to the doctor today. Back then, during that time, it was different because there wasn't the type of technology that we have today is more advanced to the point where our cell phone, I have, since I'm a diabetic, I have something on my arm. I have a device on my arm where I don't have to stick my fingers. Anyone that has diabetes know what I'm talking about. You have to stick your finger to check your blood sugar. Some of us have to do it 3 times a day. So can you imagine sticking your finger and checking your sugar 3 times a day? You can develop what I call a callus or bruise on your hand. And diabetes actually starts in the feet. So a lot of you men, one part of being a man is looking after your well-being, creating that world. So a lot of you black men and a lot of you men out here, you don't look after yourself. So you expect your woman to do everything for you. You expect your mother to do everything for your daughter. But you as a man, ask yourself a question. Have you become a burden on those around you? Because when you truly love yourself, remember, you put yourself first. Because you have no right to ask someone to feel sorry for you or take care of you when you don't take care of yourself. So I was diagnosed in 2020 with diabetes. So any men or women that have diabetes, this is what I did. Sometimes it also depends on where you live at, determines the type of care that you get. Right? What I know now, I wish I could have had it for my own mother. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you about what I do. I have type 2 diabetes. The medications that I take metformin, 500 milligrams in the morning, 500 at night. And I also was assigned to take insulin. My insulin was increased from 15 units to 30 units. And I used to draw, back in the days for my mother, I used to draw up the needles for her. When the visitor nurse came out to where we lived at, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. About 85% of my life, I lived in Albany Projects, 205, building 205, apartment 3F. We would call that the old side because there was 205, 193, 1191, 180, 162, 1008. That would be considered the old side. The new side was 1400, 1414, and 1430. But we moved in Albany Projects in 1976, the month of February. So the reason why I mention that is because I'm letting you know where I came from. I'm telling my story. So back to what I just mentioned about back in 2020, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. At first, I was in denial. At first, I was in denial a little bit. But I'm glad I don't have this mindset or where I'm controlled by someone else's emotions or propaganda. God has given man and woman the gift to preserve life. Now, is every doctor good? No. Is Are there good doctors? Yes. And I believe that your mindset as a man thinketh, as anyone thinketh, whether it's man or woman, boy or child, as they thinketh, you're gonna draw that. Your words are going to manifest and draw these people in your life. And my doctor is Dr. Lee. He's Asian. He's half Korean and half Chinese. And I remember the night when I took my blood work, had my lab work, he called me Thursday night in the evening at 8 o'clock. So me, I don't like to be disturbed in the evening. But what that showed you was the way I think, and God put this man in my life. I didn't give a damn if he was black, white, Asian, or Martian, whatever. God put people in your life to play a part in your life. And a lot of you block your blessings by the way you think. So when you pray, and I'm going to talk about a lot of you don't even know how to pray either. But when you pray and you ask for something, and when it comes in your space in your life, that's your blessing. Okay? So he called me that Thursday at 8 o'clock back in 2020 and told me that I had type 2 diabetes. And he put me on metformin. Now, when my mother was alive, what I wish I would have known about was, and my doctor suggested it to me. He said to me, Marvin, you should you should go to a diabetic doctor. And when he said that, and I've gone the last two visits, it's a game changer. So I'm going to talk about that. So what I did was I was blessed to have my own medical coverage. And then on television, I would see the advertising for Dexcom G7. What is Dexcom G7? It's a device that you stick either on your arm or you can stick it around your stomach. But majority of everyone stick it. I stick mine on the back of my arm near my tricep. And what it does is it's a sensor and it pairs through Bluetooth. And you have to go to either Apple or Google Play Store to download the Dexcom G7 app to your phone. And then when you have a diabetic doctor, there's called something called Dexcom Clarity. That's an app that you download, and your doctor, while you're in the office, when I was in the office of my diabetic doctor, the nurse took my phone, and what she did was she connected it. So my doctor, as I'm speaking to you, they can monitor me without me even going into the office. When it gets high, it's going to alert her. And then what she'll do, she will call me. And then with Dexcom G7, for those who have diabetes longer than I had, it's over the years of you sticking your fingers, and that stuff hurts. It pinch, but it does hurt after a while. You can develop a bruise. So God has given man and woman the mind to create technology. Because technology can be used in a good way and it can be used in a bad way. Whoever thought back in the 80s when everything came out and AT&T made the first cell phone, here in 2023, the cell phone does everything. So you can walk out your house without your wallet and identification. You can lose that, but you can't lose your cell phone. I dare anybody to challenge that. So with Dexcom G7 is a device or a sensor that I stick on my arm. It lasts for 10 days. And the app tells me when to change it. So the app told me to change it tonight. And then what happens is I have to power it with Bluetooth, and I can see on the app it takes a few minutes to warm up. Now, many of you say, well, how do I take a bath or take a shower with it? So what I did is I went to Rite Aid, or you go to your regular drugstore like CVS or whatever drugstore, and I bought the waterproof bandage. So when I take a bath or a shower, I take that waterproof Band-Aid or patch. I put over the sensor because it's waterproof where water doesn't get in there. Now, is it comfortable? No. But what it is it gives me a reading every day. So now when I eat something, I can tell what takes my sugar blood levels up. So anyone that has diabetes, I recommend that you get Dexcom G7. Check to see if your insurance pays for it, and this is how it works. When Dexcom come on, you go into their website, you go through your phone, through your desktop, your laptop, whatever. You go and fill out the information. In return, Dexcom is going to send the application to your doctor. And I said, I recommend anyone that has diabetes, if you had it for years or you just been discovered with it, I recommend that you get a diabetic doctor along with your regular doctor. Your regular doctor should be for annual physicals, but you should have a diabetic doctor that specializes in diabetes. Like you should have I have also a cardiologist because they had to check my heart and everything. I have an eye doctor, I have a foot doctor, and I have a regular doctor. So so what happens is Dexcom G7, they will send the application to your doctor. And your doctor has to say that he or she is treating you for diabetes. And then once that's done, they send it back, whether they fax it or email it, whatever. They send it back to Dexcom, and Dexcom will send you a text letting you know that you are approved. And then the next step is your doctor or your information of where your local pharmacy will be on file. And see how the world has changed? Back then, you had to call the doctor to get your records. Now your records is online through your app, which you download on your phone. So now, if there's an emergency and you're in another state and you had to go to the hospital or the doctor can now look at your files online and know exactly what's wrong with you. Or you can pull the app up on your phone to show that doctor all your medical history. So the world has changed. So I'm going to talk about that later. But as a man, I had to take control of my health because I need to be around a long time. So I have a diabetic doctor. So once I was approved, there's a lot of adjusting to get through. Sometimes the sensor, if you're driving or whatever type of motion that you do, it'll show a reading a high level. That doesn't mean that's your glucose level, but the range of motion sometimes can affect the sensor. So when I'm driving, I know it's going to go up to 200, almost to 300. That doesn't mean that my sugar went up, but the range of motion, because it's a sensor. Or when I'm taking a bath or a shower, that can go up, or when I'm working out, it can also go up. And the other part about it, if I have my cell phone in the locker or in my bedroom and I'm in my living room, that's more than 20 feet away, sometimes the sensor can disconnect. But other than that, it's great. And then sometimes when it gets too high, it will send you an alert. And that can be nerve-wracking. On the other part about it is you can invite your family and friends. So when your sugar is high or low, they get an alert about what's going on with you. So I mentioned that as a diabetic, you should have a diabetic doctor. So my second visit, she taught me a lot. One of them was a lot of us get cramps. So we think part of it is dehydration. That's part of it. But she also taught me too, cramps also represent a lack of blood flow. I didn't know that. So this is why, as a man, or even a man or woman, you must be a seeker of knowledge. So now the other thing that I added on was a diabetic dietitian. What's the purpose of a diabetic dietitian? She comes out and we develop a food plan. She gave me a booklet. And in my booklet, I have starchy food and non-starchy. So my AC1 level was at 12. It was high. So my diabetic doctor, now that I double up on the metformin, but after a while, for a couple of days, it made me feel bad. So I went back to taking 500 milligrams in the morning and night. I take 30 units at nighttime before I go to bed. So the hardest thing to really cut back on, and that thing that we can eat every day, in spite of, there's two things that you can eat if you had nothing else: bread and rice. You can put butter on bread. You can season the rice. You can put ketchup. You can do whatever you want with rice. And when you're hungry, eat a slice of bread, because bread is going to fill you up. So those are two main things that are very hard. And I gave up table sugar 3 years ago. So if I drink coffee, no sugar, tea, no sugar. I do not drink diet sodas. I'll have me a regular soda, because diet sodas make me feel bad. And diet products are designed to make you eat more. A lot of people don't know that. It increases your appetite, because weight loss is a business. It's a business. So going back to what I said, so with my diabetes, I take my medication. I also exercise. I used to train back in the 80s. I was really into it. That bodybuilding stuff, I was really into it. So I got back into it. And my doctor said something to me last week. She said, "Are you worried about looking good or taking care of your health?" And I couldn't say nothing. What is there to say? She was telling the truth. So at that point, before I did my lab work last Saturday, my AC1 prior to that was at 12. You want to get it under 7, which is good. So I did my blood work, and then I also have a nurse that calls me every week to check up on me. If something that get rejected, as far as if I go to the doctor and there's a bill and they reject my visit or whatever, she takes care of everything. This is what I'm talking about. God put people in your life to make your life become successful on all levels. See, many of you are fools. When you reject knowledge, you reject success. You reject prosperity. But I don't want to go off on that. So that's important. So I have a diabetic dietitian. And one of the things I talk about is when you have a husband or wife that lives with diabetes or was diagnosed with diabetes, it's as if your partner has it. And what I mean by that, your husband or your spouse have it, because now you have to change. It's an effect on both of your lifestyle as far as how you prepare meals. But remember, everyone don't practice what you do. When you go around family, they don't eat like you. And it's tough. But one thing I don't do is deprive myself. If I want a soda, I drink regular sodas once in a while. I have me a cheeseburger. But what I realize, I'm in control of it. Because we all are creatures of addiction or creatures of habit. Everyone has an addiction. Some people are addicted to food. Because when they're stressed or depressed, they use food as a coping mechanism. Like people are addicted to drugs. But anyway, if you have diabetes or you've been diagnosed with diabetes recently, I recommend that you go get you a diabetic doctor. It's worth it. Remember, life is a classroom. Life is a classroom. We all must pay tuition. There is a cost if we don't do things right. Whether it's right or wrong, there's a cost into that. So the other part is I have high blood. So when you have diabetes, your blood pressure go up. When you have diabetes, you can't go get a manicure, I might be saying it wrong, manicure, pedicure or something like that, and someone cut on your feet. So if your veins are if diabetes has destroyed the circulation and the veins in your foot, any cut around that area can be devastating, where you get your toes cut off, your foot cut off, your leg cut off, amputation. You get your legs cut off. My father had that. He had his toes cut off because he went to go. I think he had a bunion on his foot. He developed a sore, and he almost developed gangrene. So they cut the toes off. Then they went back and cut the foot off. Then they went back and cut below the knee. So they cut 3 times. So now he has a prosthetic leg. What I'm saying, a lot of as a diabetic is dangerous. You should be going to the eye doctor, because in your eyes they can check to see how much diabetes have destroyed your eyes. They can also check your eyes. Your eyes has its own blood pressure. I didn't know that. And you should also be going to the dentist. As I mentioned yesterday, I go every year for a cleaning and a checkup. Many people don't have dental coverage, but there are ways you can go to. If you can't afford a dentist, go to college dentistry, where they are. I know down here in Philadelphia, they have where you can go to a college where the students, you become much of a guinea pig, where the students are working on your teeth, but right there is the head doctor to make sure that they're doing it right. And I remember in New York, I forgot where I used to go at, and they had the dentistry, and a lot of times you can work out a payment plan. But when you're diabetic, my diabetic doctor told me that even though I go every year, I should be going twice a year. Why? Because they can develop infections in your mouth. So diabetes is nothing to play with. Diabetes also ruins the nervous system. And my mother used to have a bald patch on the side of her head that was permanent. That was from diabetes. So I mentioned there's type 1 diabetes and type 2. There's another diabetes. A lot of you women know about it. A lot of times women get diabetes during pregnancy. So the reason why I mentioned all of this, a lot of you women, you should be able to self-test yourself as far as see if there's any lumps in your breasts, so you can prevent breast cancer. For a lot of you men out there, you should be going to the doctor. You're at that age where you should be checking your prostate. You should be going for a colonoscopy to make sure that there's no colon cancer or any polyps in your colon. They take that out. They run the x-ray. They run up a camera inside of you to make sure. A lot of you men need to be going to these doctors, because a lot of black men are dropping dead. And there's a lot of men where I came from, Albany Projects, that drop dead from health-related issues. So it's important that you go to the doctor. If you have health insurance, you should be going to the doctor every year. And even before I had diabetes, I always went to the doctor every year to check myself, because I understand that diabetes runs in my family, mental illness runs in my family, heart problems runs in the family. It's not a black thing. Sometimes I feel like as black people, everything that's negative, we claim it. We never claim nothing positive. We claim high blood pressure. We claim diabetes. We claim poverty. We claim victimhood. No, it happens to all of us. But in some cases, it's more severe. If you're living in poverty, you eat what's in your pockets, what you can afford. A lot of us eat TV dinners or eat out of Dollar Tree, or Dollar General, or Family Dollar, knowing that food is not even good. But that's known to a lot of you women, you get food stamps. You should be shopping at Whole Foods. You should be buying the best food. But as I mentioned, take your health seriously, because no one should love you more than you love yourself. And what I'm here to say is that what? God has blessed man and woman today who are for doctors and physicians. The world has changed where everything is on your cell phone. You could do a cardiology stress test on your phone. Whoever thought a cell phone does everything? You could download apps now. So the world has changed. Is it always going to be correct? No. Do doctors make mistakes? Do people die every day of malpractice or something that the doctor did wrong? Yes, they do. But you cannot live in the spirit of fear. Because God said, I didn't give you the spirit of fear. But don't be a fool and don't be paranoid. A lot of you you're paranoid. A lot of you listen to these activists because you don't have a mind of your own. Everyone, you come in this world by yourself, and guess what? You're going to leave by your damn self. So all that activists and all that, no, God put these doctors here for a reason. Think about it. God gave man and woman the wisdom to do heart transplants, liver transplants, save people. But when you put that ideology and believe in that type of stuff, you're going to get the worst doctors because the way you think. A lot of you suffer from mental illness. A lot of you women are going through depression. A lot of you lost your mother and you've had nervous breakdowns, but you won't go seek help. Hell, I tell people, yeah, I'm crazy. Yeah. But the reality is, go to the doctor. Take control of your health. Is everything healthy? No. But you can't control by cooking at home. If your woman can't cook, that don't make her less of a woman. But she should want to learn how to cook. And when you're in a relationship, I'm going to say this. When you got diabetes, your partner got it too, even though they don't have it. But the way you prepare your meal has to change. And for all you that have diabetes, get you a diabetic dietitian. If you have high blood, go get you a doctor that specializes in high blood. Because your regular doctor is what he is. He's for annual checkups. But with all this knowledge and resource that we have today, there's a doctor for everything. And I thank God that I put myself in this position to do that. I've had family members that had breast cancer and they had things done to them. I'm not going to put them out there. I'm just putting that out there. For you women, it's very important that you be able to understand and look out for the lumps or feel your breasts. If you don't understand that, that's why I support you got YouTube videos. Speak to your doctor. Go to your gynecologist and get checked out. Because people say, well, high blood pressure is a silent killer. Well, I don't care how much you go to the gym. You can look good on the outside. We all can see what's on the outside, but we can't see what's inside. So that's why it's important. Eat to the best of your ability. Don't deprive yourself. Because sometimes depression will come on more. Don't deprive yourself. Have a cheeseburger. Have a Whopper once in a while. It ain't going to kill you. What's going to kill you is going to feel bad that you can't eat it. And then you might fall into depression. Because we do eat with our eyes. Right? And what we deprive of, it increases our desire and lust. So eat in moderation. If you could cut back off the rice, and I'm going to go over the menu. I'm going to have a part 2 to this. I'm going to tell you what the non-starchy foods are. But the trick to getting your AC1 down, getting it down, don't eat no rice. Eat cabbage. The non-starchy fruits, vegetables are cabbage, non-starchy. Cabbage, collard greens, kale, broccoli. Those are off the top of my head, and salads. Eat a lot of salads. Cut back on the rice and cut back on the bread. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard. But if you can minimize eating rice Let's say you eat it like 4 or 5 times a week. If you cut it down to like 3, down to 2, but gradually do it, where 1 week you only eat salad with chicken and all that, and then when you go back to your doctor, that's going to help your AC1 down, because now you're going to also get a diabetic dietitian where they do home visits. That's how the world has changed because of COVID also. So I have a diabetic dietitian. She does a home visit. She comes out to me, and we talk. And we come up with a food plan, which is a food strategy. Sometimes my diabetes is high. Yeah, I can feel it. But when the diabetes is high, man, it fucks up everything if you ain't careful. And I've known some people that died from it. Ron, anyone that know Ron from Albany Project, Ron, who lived in 205, I lived in an apartment 3F. He lived in an apartment 3H. Ron died like about 2 years ago from diabetic complications. And he's a young man. I don't think Ron was yet 50. He died in his 40s. It was sad. My mother died in 2009 of diabetic complications. And I remember when Ron he was diabetic. I remember what type of shape he was in. But you could get it under control. Don't let it control you, but you can control it. You're in control. And if you got a spouse who don't give a shit, I love me more than anything. You gotta let that person go. If it comes out of your health, I don't give a damn. Let he or she go. You can find it look better going than coming. I put me first. I am number one. I decide my happiness. I'm in control. And that person has to understand that my life has changed. So if you're going to prepare a meal, let us both practice it. It makes it more easier. And if you don't want to do it, then goodbye. You have to develop that mindset. If that person want to be with you, there's certain things that will change, life-changing events that will change the course of life. So this is one of the principles of manhood, health. And all you men out there, take your ass to the doctor. Get your prostate checked. Have a colonoscopy. If you don't know where it is, look it up. Make sure you don't got diabetes. None of that type of stuff. Because a lot of you black men, you don't give a shit about yourself. You're worried about smoking a blunt. I smoke weed. A lot of you want to drink. A lot of you want to hang out on the corner. A lot of you playing Madden, Xbox. Put that damn Xbox down and go see about your health. And for you women, your health is important. You got to learn to love yourself and put yourself first. And go look after your health. Because at the end of the day, the same people that you're around, remember, you came in this world by yourself, and you're going to leave by your damn self. And those same people are going to be right back here doing whatever they was doing. So I say peace and blessings to everyone, and repeat this affirmation every day. Health, happiness, prosperity, success, respect, love, money, and the abundance of all things. And once you repeat that affirmation every day, that's a mindset. I guarantee things will change, but you have to put the work in. Faith without works is dead. I'm gonna drop this on you. Faith is not always faithful, because she will go and come. You're gonna be tested. So you got to put the work in, a renewing of the mind. There's no excuse. So I'll have more topics. I have more videos coming out. If you have any questions, send me an email at Mr. Smith, mr.smith, TV Entertainment at gmail.com. Again, my email address for this business here, this podcast is Mr. Smith, Mr. mr.smith@gmail.com. If you have any questions or any topics that you want we can talk about, feel free to send your email there. I look forward to talking to you all. Everyone have a good weekend. Have a good holiday. Watch what you're doing. Watch where you're going. All right, and be responsible. I'll talk to you later. Good night.